Have you ever woken up from a dream that felt so real, you had to take a moment to remember where you were? It's a strange feeling, isn't it? That hazy space between sleep and waking, where the echoes of your dream world still cling to you like a fine morning mist. Most of the time, these dreams fade away as the sun comes up. They become silly little stories we might tell a friend, or just forget completely. But sometimes, just sometimes, they don't fade. They stick around, waiting in the corners of our minds, because they have something to show us. Something that hasn't happened yet. Our minds are powerful things, more powerful than we often give them credit for. When we sleep, our minds wander off to places we can't explain. They build castles in the sky and dig tunnels deep into the earth. They show us faces we've never seen and take us on adventures we'd never dare to try in real life. But what happens when that line, that thin little veil between the dream world and the real world, starts to tear? What happens when the things we see with our eyes closed start to appear right in front of us when we're wide awake? It's a thought that can send a shiver right down your spine. These are stories from real people, people just like you and me. People who went to bed one night, had a dream, and then woke up to find that their nightmare was just getting started. Our first story is about a young woman named Sarah. One night, Sarah went to sleep and had a terribly vivid dream. She was driving her small blue car down a familiar road near her home. It was raining hard, so hard that the windshield wipers couldn't keep up. As she drove, she came to a small bridge that crossed over a rushing river. In her dream, just as she got to the middle of the bridge, she felt a sudden, violent jolt. The steering wheel was ripped from her hands and the car swerved uncontrollably. It crashed right through the guardrail. The feeling of falling was sickeningly real as the car plunged toward the dark, swirling water below. The impact was a deafening crash of metal and a rush of cold. Water started pouring into the car, rising quickly around her legs. She panicked, trying to open the door, but the pressure held it shut. She fumbled for the window, her hands shaking. The water rose to her chest, cold and suffocating. She could feel the car sinking deeper, and she woke up with a gasp, her heart pounding in her chest. The dream left her shaken. Every detail was burned into her memory. The sound of the rain, the feeling of the wheel slipping, the icy shock of the water. She tried to laugh it off as just a silly nightmare, maybe the late-night pizza, but the feeling of dread wouldn't go away. It followed her like a shadow. She jumped at loud noises, felt anxious about driving, even considered avoiding that bridge, but she told herself she was being ridiculous. So the next morning, she got into her little blue car and started her usual drive. The sky was clear, there was no sign of rain. As she drove, the dream began to fade, replaced by the worries of a normal day. She turned up the radio, sang along, and told herself everything was fine. She was just letting her imagination get the best of her. As Sarah approached the bridge from her dream, she couldn't help but feel a small flicker of fear. The sun was shining, the river below was calm and peaceful, nothing like the raging torrent from her nightmare. She took a deep breath and chuckled at herself. Everything was perfectly normal. The road was clear. She was well below the speed limit. She started to cross the bridge, hands steady on the wheel, almost to the other side. That's when it happened. A large truck suddenly came speeding around a blind corner. It swerved into her lane. Sarah had no time to react. The truck sideswiped her small blue car with a horrifying screech of metal against metal. The force sent her car spinning. It slammed hard against the very same guardrail from her dream. The metal groaned. For a heart-stopping second, she was sure the car would go right through it. The world seemed to move in slow motion as she relived the worst part of her dream. Only this time she was wide awake. But the car didn't go over. It came to a screeching halt, pinned against the broken railing. Sarah sat frozen in shock. The truck driver and others were running to help. All she could do was stare at the calm river, the same river that had been a raging monster in her dream. In the moments after the crash, Sarah felt overwhelming terror and profound relief. She was alive. Miraculously, only a few bruises and scratches. Her car, however, was a wreck. As she looked at the scene, the mangled guardrail, the way the car had been hit, it was an exact replica of her dream. The officers were kind and professional. She told them about the truck, but she couldn't bring herself to tell them about the dream. It sat heavy in her heart, a secret that separated her from everyone else, a chilling truth only she knew. For weeks and months afterward, Sarah was haunted. Trouble sleeping, afraid of what her dreams might show her next. Dream and reality blurred together. She avoided driving, especially bridges. The world now hid dangers she had never imagined. She came to believe there are things we cannot explain, that her dream had been a warning. The line between our dreams and our reality is much thinner than we think, and sometimes a nightmare is a glimpse of a future waiting just around the corner. Our second story comes from a man named Mark, who lived alone in a quiet suburban house. For several nights in a row, Mark had the same disturbing dream. In the dream, he woke in the night, felt something was wrong, and walked slowly through his dark, silent house. Down the hall, he would hear a faint, raspy whisper, too quiet to make out, but enough to make his skin crawl. Reaching the living room, he would see a figure in the corner, tall and thin, its face always hidden. It stood perfectly still. The whisper grew louder. Mark was paralyzed. He wanted to scream, to run, to turn on the lights, but he couldn't move. Every time he woke in a cold sweat, his heart racing. After the third night, he was spooked. The dream felt too real, too consistent, not like other jumbled dreams. By day, he stared at that corner, even moved a lamp there, hoping to make the room less menacing. He told friends. They said he was stressed, watched too many scary movies. Relax, they told him. It was just his mind playing tricks. Mark was logical. He didn't believe in ghosts. He convinced himself it was all in his head. Yet the chilling feeling wouldn't leave. One night he woke suddenly. The exact same feeling from the dream crept in. He told himself he was being silly, got up for water, and walked down the dark hallway. Every shadow was in its exact, dreaded place. He paused at the living room entrance, afraid to look. Then he heard it. A faint, raspy whisper. The exact same sound from his dream. His blood ran cold. This wasn't a dream. Someone was in his house. In the dream, he couldn't move. But now he did. He backed away, locked his bedroom door, hid in the closet, and with shaking hands dialed 911. Mark sat huddled in the closet, heart hammering, listening for any sound. Sirens grew louder. Police shouted, broke down the door, swept the house. They told him it was safe. They had the intruder, a homeless, mentally unwell man who had broken in, likely seeking warmth, standing in the corner, muttering to himself. The whispering shadow from Mark's dream was a real person. After they took him to get help, Mark stood in the pale light, staring at an ordinary corner he would never see the same way again. Our final story is perhaps the most chilling of all. It concerns a college student named Maya, studying abroad, often feeling a little lonely. One night she dreamed of a plain white room. Her grandmother was there, kind eyes, a warm smile, but pale and sad. She said nothing. Maya hugged her, but the embrace was cold, like ice. As she held her, her grandmother slowly faded away. She woke deeply disturbed. All day she called. No answer. She told herself there were 100 explanations, emailed her parents, tried to study. But the cold feeling clung to her. The next morning, an urgent email. Call home immediately. Her heart sank. She knew what was coming. Her grandmother had passed away in her sleep. Accounting for the time difference, her grandmother died at the exact time Maya dreamed of her, as if a spirit had crossed an ocean to say goodbye. These stories, Sarah, Mark, Maya, remind us of mysteries we may never solve. Are these dreams coincidences? Warnings from our subconscious? Messages from somewhere else? We don't have the answers. What we do know is that dreams can feel real, can be scary, and sometimes they come true.